So the trailer for Dexter Resurrection episode 9 has just been released, and following that dramatic ending with Prater confronting Dexter, the preview for the upcoming episode shows that Dexter now has issues with his identity coming from both angles, Angel Batista and Prater, meaning that he needs to do something about at least one of them. So with that, I wanted to break down the trailer and also give my theories and predictions on what I think could happen next. So let's get into it. Here is Dexter Resurrection Episode 9 Trailer Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. So the trailer for the next episode looks like it picks up directly after Prater approached Dexter as they were standing outside the very restaurant that Prater walked into when he approached him. Dexter said, "Stay away from my son." What's interesting about this line of dialogue is that it's the first time that he's really spoken to Prater in that way. A way in which there was true aggression towards him, and it's also the first time we're going to be seeing him speaking to him as Dexter, rather than Red. And with Prater being a relatively intuitive man, I wonder if he'll spot the difference. The fact that Dexter was with his son, somebody who Prater and Charley didn't think that the dark passenger, Red, had, and with him also being sat there eating a steak when Prater knows him as being a vegan, other than the one time that he helped himself to meat at the gathering, I wonder if that's going to add to the doubt that Charley might well have put in his mind. Prater responded to Dexter and said, "Does Harrison know who you really are?" Prater is obviously asking the question and making it out like, does his son know that he's the dark passenger? But it's a good question because Harrison obviously knows that Dexter is a killer. So it's framed in a way where Prater thinks Harrison would judge, but in reality he doesn't because he's just as bad. He's cut from the same cloth after all. As Dexter said this, there was a shot of Dexter with a blade whilst also being on the phone to somebody. So it seems like there's going to be somebody that he's going to call up and look to take out. The four main people that it feels like are left are Al, Charley, Prater, and Batista. So one would have to assume that it's going to be one of them. I wonder if he's going to use this opportunity to get Al back in the vicinity. We know that Prater has a final dinner that he was planning on hosting for the serial killers, so one would assume that it could well be that. Or on the other hand, it could well be Batista. Dexter did say, "I need to end this," after he destroyed the AirPods, and he was also paranoid at the end of the previous episode because he knew that he wasn't going to give up trying to prove that he was the Bay Harbor Butcher. So with one of the rules in the code being, don't get caught, I wonder if this could finally be the time where Batista meets his end. The episode is titled Touched by an Angel after all, and as I said last time, penultimate episodes in seasons can often be stronger than the finales. So Batista meeting his end could well be something that happens in this episode. The next part of the trailer was then focused on Batista back in the New York City Police Department office, and he said, "I'm telling you, Dexter Morgan is the Bay Harbor Butcher." As he said this, there was a shot of Dexter looking like he was baiting Batista onto the subway and leading him to get stuck there. So I wonder if Dexter is fully aware of the fact that Batista isn't going to stop hunting him down. As well as this, it cut to Batista speaking to Detective Wallace and she said, "You must cease and desist. If you're still here tomorrow, I'll have you arrested." What was interesting about this was that this conversation was no longer taking place in Wallace's office, but instead it was in an interrogation room. This, paired with the threat of arrest, shows that she's truly reached the end of her tether with him, and I'm guessing that she's going to also confront him over the fact that he was lying about still being an active captain. Add into the mix that she also thinks he's deranged and obsessed over proving that Dexter is the Bay Harbor Butcher because Dexter planted that idea in her mind because it was his former partner that was framed. Batista coming across like that is exactly what he wants. I actually wonder if Dexter is going to go to Wallace and tell her that Batista's been harassing him, which could lead him to be in that interrogation room. The next part of the trailer was then focused on Dexter dressed up as the dark passenger, and he said, "No matter how hard I try to keep my family life separate from my darker needs, the two just keep colliding." There's been a key focus throughout this season of people wanting to keep their secret lives separate. We've had Blessing with the fact that he's killed somebody before, all of the serial killers, Dexter, Harrison, and even Leon Prater. So the fact that it's been a key focus shows that the reveal of Dexter's true identity and also Leon Prater being the sick and twisted individual that he is will probably be exposed. As this line was spoken, there was a quick succession of shots. With Dexter being dressed up as the dark passenger, one would assume that he's going to Prater's, as that's the only time he gets into that attire. Alongside that, there was a shot of Harrison walking through the hotel, so I'm going to assume that he's going to start being watched by the likes of Charley and Prater. It wouldn't take much digging to find out who his father is. It would be some basic investigative work for Charley, and that's where they could finally find out that Dexter Morgan isn't Red Schmid. With Charley being in the hotel room right at the end of the trailer and having that glass of orange juice, the juice that Harrison had on his trolley, it looks like he's going to be confronted and they're not going to stay away from Dexter's son like he asked them to. As well as that, there was a shot of Charley waving from the car outside the restaurant, which is going to show us that it was her that led Prater to him. This does actually make me wonder if it's going to be her that Dexter's going to kill in the episode. She's become a problem to him, and there was an importance placed on her telling him that she'd killed before when she was healing his arm. So I wonder if that will enable him to see her as code-worthy. So maybe she's the person that's going to be on the other end of the phone, not Al or Batista. Another shot that we had was of Dexter inside of an elevator, following him walking through what I'm going to imagine is Prater's mansion because of the grand nature of it, but also the color palette of the home. Accompanying this was Dexter raising his blade up into the air, which showed that he had somebody on a kill table that he could have made at Prater's. With Batista being the shot before it, and like I said, with the episode title, it could well be him. Personally, I think it's between Charley and Batista who could well get the chop in the next episode. There wasn't a death in episode 8, so we're overdue for a big one in the penultimate episode. Alongside those shots was a piece of dialogue that was spoken between Harrison and his father. Harrison said, "Are we going to be okay?" And Dexter said, "You're going to have to trust me." I'm guessing this could well occur after the confrontation at the restaurant or the meeting at the hotel, and Dexter might well have to tell him what's been going on. The final part of the trailer was a shot of Leon Prater standing in his mansion, and Prater said the line, "The dark passenger is mine." I think this could mean two different things. The first is seeing as though this is taking place later on in the episode after the conversation at the restaurant. The fact that he referred to him as the dark passenger and not Dexter or the Bay Harbor butcher could mean that Leon still doesn't know Dexter's true identity. But at the same time, it could also just be Leon acting as if he doesn't know so he could have the upper hand. With him saying, "The dark passenger is mine," I wonder if he's basically insinuating that he has control over Dexter, and Leon could well be wanting him to kill somebody for him. There are theories out there about Prater being the New York Ripper, or him essentially utilizing these serial killers to get people that he wants killed, and him saying that about the dark passenger could well be that. Or this scene could well be a conversation between himself and Charley, and Prater could be speaking like this because he's telling Charley that he doesn't want her to deal with Dexter following all of this information being revealed. But instead, he wants to be the person that deals with him. This could be why Dexter's at Prater's house, because Prater has something in store for Dexter and he'll want the answers to the questions that he's going to have about him. Then from there, the trailer came to a close. Honestly, this episode looks like it has the potential to be the best in the season. There are so many different directions that this one could go in, as you can see by the many different predictions that are made in the video. So honestly, I can't wait to see how this next episode does truly go. So, there you have it, Dexter Resurrection Episode 9 Trailer Explained. If you want to see more videos on Dexter Resurrection, then check the playlist below. I've also explained every serial killer, so be sure to check that video. What do you think will happen next? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.